But the most important, he told me a few things. One of the things he, for example, told me is that all the major aircrafts, especially KLM, fly out at least 50 kilograms of gold on every flight that leaves Johannesburg for Europe, for Holland. Every flight, and that's probably like 3 or 4 flights a day. And then I discovered many years later that he was not lying, that it was true, because I was doing a lecture somewhere in Europe, I forget where it was, might have been Switzerland, and one of the people in the audience at my workshop was a KLM pilot. And he came to me afterwards and said, you know what, you're 100% right about this gold flying out, because we always have to sign out the secret thing that they bring on, the special agents or special units or whoever, the cops bring it onto the aircraft, they sign it in, it's a special delivery, no one knows what it is, and it's highly suspicious what it is, and it's normally around 50 kilograms. So it was confirmed that it was this gold, and all the pilots all say that they know it's gold, but no one talks about it. So that was a very interesting thing, and so that was confirmed that what Brian Young told me was actually true. He wasn't just making it up. Mm-hmm. And he told me another very important thing that took many more years until when you were here, John Paul. When you were here in 2018 with that first research group, when we discovered the fossils, January 2018, mm-hmm. for that whole month, right? That's when we met Paul. What's wrong with my brain this morning? I can't think clearly. Paul, somebody who was the consultant geologist that was called by Sheba gold mine. Remember, he appeared just out of the blue, and he came for a pizza and a cup of coffee. Oh, yeah. To see the museum. And there we met him, and he was so knowledgeable about all this stuff. So I'm always attracted and wonder where these knowledgeable people come from that arrive to tour or view the museum or come and talk to us. And then he told me he was a consultant engineer that was in 1985 or 86. He was called by Sheba gold mine to come and investigate a unique phenomenon. That was Paul, whose surname I forget now, but we'll post that interview I did with him. And and he confirmed, this Paul guy confirmed exactly what Brian Young told me in November 2007, that Sheba gold mine is the richest mine in the world, gold mine in the world by far, and that there are strange things happening there that nobody knows. There's like these veins of gold, like thick jelly gold, that's almost like oozing out of the veins, out of the walls. And what the gold mine does is that gold mines get given, I don't know if that's still the case today, but for many decades, gold mines are given a quota of gold that they were allowed to mine. They were allowed to mine up to a certain amount. So that, I don't know why, but anyway, those are the rules. And so when the Sheba gold mine didn't make enough gold from the ore or whatever, they would go into this one section of the mine, Sheba gold mine, and take out some of this virtually pure oozing gold that's coming out of the walls in these veins. So that is a very strange thing to say, like, really? Okay, I'll take that with a pinch of salt. Mm-hmm. And just like the pilot confirmed that they were flying out all this gold out of Johannesburg every day, Paul arrives and he tells me, remember, I don't know if you were there. You were there, I'm sure you were there, if you remember. And I asked him, do you know anything about Sheba gold mine? And he said, yes, I know a lot about Sheba gold mine. I was called out in 1985 or 86, it was, to come and investigate a very special, unusual phenomenon. So he went out there, and what they discovered was what in mining terms, they called old works.
Yes.
This was mining there before them. They call it old works, and because it's old works, obviously people in the old days didn't have the modern technology we have today. So old work mining is always deemed to be dangerous. So you're not supposed to go in there. But when he said he got in there underground, it was this huge underground cavern. He said it was larger than the Vatican. You couldn't see the other side. And all around this huge cave in the mine that they found by accident were these veins of gold that were oozing out of the walls. Literally like solid jelly veins of gold. But the more interesting thing, obviously that's already mind-blowing enough. So already Paul then confirmed what Brian Young told me about Sheba Gold Mine in 2007. So that turned out to be true. And then Paul told me the reason they were interested in wasn't about the fact that they found these veins of gold oozing out. That was just, their benefit. They're a lucky discovery. But what was more puzzling to them is that some of these veins of gold were hollowed out, emptied out. Somebody was there mining the gold before them and had the technology to remove the gold from those veins without blasting or without explosions and without drilling. They had the capacity to just suck that gold out. And that's what he came to investigate. So when I talk about Sheba Gold Mine, it's a very unique, very special place. And when it was discovered in 1870-something, or 1880, it was already an old mine. They didn't discover gold there. They discovered an ancient mine that they just started to remine. And keep in mind that under Adam's calendar, there is another gold mine.
Yeah.
It's actually an entrance that we discovered in August 2019 or August 2018 with one of the research groups. We went and looked for the old deserted entrance shaft or entrance tunnel into the gold mine that was literally right under Adam's calendar, and we found it. So this whole place is just riddled with ancient gold mines, fingerprints of the Anunnaki everywhere. And this is why I say that entire Barberton crater is not a meteor strike. It is not a volcanic crater. It is an ancient gold mine that the Anunnaki founded below Adam's calendar. It was probably much higher. The surface level was much higher than it is today. And over thousands and thousands of years, probably 200,000 years or more of mining, they just eroded and mined out that whole area. And I wanted to just start today's discussion by sharing that with you, since I did bring it up. And it remains one of my favorite stories about the whole gold mines and gold activity.
Are the pyramids inside the crater or on the edge of the crater?
Yes, the pyramids are right there. When you stand at Adam's calendar and you look down east, the pyramids are just to the right of the Horus Stone, which marks the rise of the sun. So just to the right are the pyramids, which line up with the rise of Orion's belt, like I've said in our previous chats. So the pyramids, the three stones south of the Horus Stone, that if you stand them up, they line up with the three stars of Orion's belt, and behind them in the distance are the pyramids that line up with that.
Well, the reason I was asking is because when we went, we only had just a very limited time to go climb around the pyramids on that trip, but the information that we got from spirit whispering, sight whispering on that day was that the pyramids were created as they left. So that kind of fits the story, that if they did this strip mining, pit mining thing, completed the crater, then when they left, they put these pyramids in place as proof of their presence and a testament to their technology and what they achieved. So they explained that these pyramids were a statement of pride in the work that they had done and what they were able to leave.
See, now I forgot that bit because we've just covered so much information. And unless you write this stuff down or you record it and then you watch it afterwards, when we go on these trips, as you know, there's just so much information and discovery happening all the time. You remember a lot of it, but there's some little details, and that's a detail that I actually forgot. So thank you for bringing it up and reminding me. So I just want to go back to that day that we went down there with that group that in January 2018, right? And we went down to the pyramids to look at them and explore them. We flew the drone there, if you remember. Yep. And so we got a good look at what it looks like. But prior to that already, in 2008, Brian Young and I flew a few times with his microlight. We flew a few times over the pyramids and that whole valley, stone circles there as well. And they're obviously badly destroyed and reused and abused. But we got a very good look at the pyramids and what they look like. And there's no doubt about it. Those are not accidental structures.
No, because they're all composed of exactly the same stone. So I remember that it was a very granite looking stone. It's a composite stone. It kind of has a bluish hue to it. But all of the entire structure is built out of boulders of this stone. So, you know, yes, a glacier just carefully, you know, packed them all together, stacked them beautifully. And, you know, that's what glaciers do. It's incredible.
Yeah. That whole Barberton crater and the hills and the rim around it is just a fascinating place. And like I said before, it is the attention of the geologists that study the oldest organisms on Earth, geological organisms. I forget what you call those things now. And it's a very interesting and important place in studying ancient primordial geology and species, organisms, you know, very ancient organisms. But I want to come back to more of the gold mining and bring you into with your shamanic special skills and some of the site whispering and the guardians of these sites. We spoke about your 3-day journey, your vision quest up the mountain. At the main stone circle, what we've started calling the welcome circle, where you determined that the Anunnaki actually built that originally. It served as like a research lab. Maybe you can I'm going to just hand it over to you, and you talk about that, what you discovered and found in your vision quest.
Sure. So, you know, for those of you that haven't seen any of the other footage or seen the Anunnaki Apology, is what it's called. The quick version is that we had this incredible month of just exploring and researching, and we were covering a lot of ground. And there was something about these two conjoined circles that when we were there and this first spirit appeared, that was saying this is where we welcomed people to show off, because these two circles were our working labs. And if you stood here on this hill where we were standing, I said, you can look out, and for every hillside you look, you can see our work. So we could show off, we could explain what we were doing here. You could see all the different circles. So it was kind of this welcome place where we invited guests to come and show them what we did. So then we went off and did a whole bunch of other stuff, and I just felt really drawn back there. I said, you know, to do the stuff that I need to do, I need to spend a long time at one particular site, because there were we had so many questions. Because I would go to a site, we'd contact someone, we'd get some information, we'd get a little teeny piece, and then we'd move on. So,
sorry, I muted my mic. I wanted to add to that, John Paul. Often, you know, because we're so naive in our thinking about all this stuff, because it's so far from our reality and the world we find ourselves in today, what these Anunnaki were doing here and how it worked. Often the questions we ask are just so irrelevant and disconnected from what their reality was and what they were actually doing. So it's like asking you, you know, why is it important to have shoelaces in your shoes? Like a stupid question like that, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That might even be irrelevant, but carry on. So your 3-day vision quest, yeah.
No, but that is true. I think that the questions that we ask, because we don't have any, I mean, you and I have a bit of a clue now. So the questions we're asking today when I do connecting to the spirits are much better than the questions we asked 5 years ago. You know, You're like, what? Wow. That's about it. So in my tradition, in the shamanic tradition, when you go to a particular place, you can do a vision quest. So a vision quest basically in my tradition is 3 days of fasting and prayer. And you go and you fast, you have water, but you try to connect with the spirits of the land, or you connect with a particular spirit. And if you are genuine about your intent, after 3 or so days, you'll get answers to your questions. So my request was to go up there and just camp out and have 3 days of vision quest and see if I could get some of these answers.
Can I tell you something? I never told you at the time, but I must tell you, you were very brave. And I don't know if I would have done that, because there are leopards up in those mountains.
Yeah, you told me that much later, thank God.
Yeah, and I just thought, okay, he's going up there alone to spend the night in a tent for 3 nights. Should I tell him about the leopards or shouldn't I? I didn't tell you about the leopards because generally they leave you alone, but they do hunt at night. That's, leopards are nocturnal creatures. That's when they hunt, mostly. And so very relieved to hear from you after 3 days that you were still okay.
Oh, well, so that adds a serious level of drama to the story. So
exactly.